I talk a lot on here about my daughter's journey with autism and her diet. We started doing a gluten-free, dairy-free diet for her when she was fairly young. I'm not saying that that's the right path for every child with autism. Again, you have to remember, my child, she has severe, profound autism, nonverbal, lots of stimming behaviors, but she also has a lot going on within her body. She has a rare genetic de novo spontaneous mutation that was not passed down from my husband nor I. She has got a lot of things going on internally that are affecting her body. As far as I'm aware, inflammation is a huge impact on her health. I think a lot of people are trying to understand the reason why you would go gluten-free, dairy-free, because it is a hard journey when you think about the way the world is flowing. Everybody incorporates gluten and dairy in everything, it seems like, and it's easy. It's an easy way to live, but it's also not the best for someone who is highly affected by inflammation. So I think that a lot of people are confused and overwhelmed because their children will only eat certain things, and a lot of those things involve gluten and dairy, and I completely understand that. If your child is not going to tolerate cutting these things from their diet, I think that it's still doable, but you only know your child. So you have to do what's best for them. You have to do what's best for your own sanity. I will say I would probably still attempt it if I were struggling with things my child would eat, but I would take very, very, very small baby steps to try and do that. I think there is still ways to do it if you take steps. With my child, this is our journey and the reason why I chose to go gluten-free, dairy-free for her. For us, it was very much something we absolutely needed to do. All started when Ella was a baby before her autism diagnosis. She always had very odd bowel movements to the point where they were always very soft, and newborns don't have like regular log bowel movements that are like firm for a while, okay? And I didn't know any better about when things would start looking like a normal bowel movement because this was my first child. Ella, she always had such soft stool. Of course, at this time, she was eating a lot of homemade baby foods, breast milk, so a lot of like fruit, oatmeal, high fiber, and then breast milk and that kind of thing. And so her bowel movements were always very soft, they were never formed or anything like that. And there were points where I even brought up to the doctor that they looked like foam. She literally had bowel movements that came out like foam. Brought it up to the doctor. This is the doctor that never took anything seriously. I've talked about before in my videos. The first doctor that she saw that we moved from to another doctor who saw everything that I saw eventually. But this doctor didn't have any concern. This doctor, his daughter actually worked in the practice with him, and we saw her that day. She said, that's probably just how Ella's bowel movements are. That's just unique to her. That's not normal. My baby was pooping foam, and they're telling me that that's just unique to her. That's just how it happens for her. Every child's different. I should have known then, after so many signs. That is so weird. So then eventually she starts eating solid, regular foods because she's getting older, right? So she's eating normal food that we're eating. Then it goes between really soft, runny bowel movements. It goes between that and very, very hard brick-like bowel movements. The more and more I noticed that her bowel movements were not normal, I started playing with her diet. So we eventually did get a little blood work done, and it looked like she had a sensitivity to fructose. So she's eating a lot of fruit and vegetables and things like that. So it seemed like when she had an abundance of this, she would have more soft stool, okay? And then when she had too much dairy, she would also have an abundance of very soft stool, if you know what I mean. If she would eat too much gluten, then her stool would harden up and become a like brick log that she almost could barely push out. And then if she had too many seeds or nuts, I would see those fragments come out in very like hole-like forms in her stool. When she would start eating snacks that had a lot of seeds in them, because I was experimenting with different food options and ways for her to get protein because she really likes to snack, the seeds would come out whole. I would find whole pieces in her stool and lots of them. So we also had to cut down on seeds. I realized that it was very hard for her to digest. The seeds didn't seem to affect the consistency. They just came out whole. It always appeared to me from a very young age, even before diagnosis, that she struggled to digest these things. Of course, I got the same runaround every time I went to the doctor because she was seeming very constipated. They would say to give her Miralax, which I've learned is very hard on the body, not the greatest thing to be giving your child. Then her new doctor that we had switched to, she said I should be not doing Miralax, but I should be trying supplementation to help with softening the stools. And one of those things was magnesium, which that was the key. We needed to supplement with magnesium to soften her stool. That's what ended up helping us. But it didn't help completely. It softened it, but it didn't make it completely easy to push out every time. It was very hard for Ella because when we started experimenting with gluten-free snacks, I wasn't understanding that even though it was gluten-free, it still needed to be clean, free of seed oils and free of constipating ingredients in gluten-free snacks that I had no idea about. I believe her doctor said tapioca starch was one of them, which I looked at the labels of most of her snacks and it was in almost all of them. Then once I decided I can't give her even the slightest bit of dairy, the slightest bit of gluten, or else we end up struggling for like a whole week after. And I'm talking the slightest bit. There's always some kind of issue the following week if we do it. I decided I needed to get strict, and we're supplementing magnesium to soften her stool. We were doing fish oil as well at the time to soften her stool. We had a very clean diet. We weren't doing much like processed icky foods. We weren't eating out a lot. I was making everything pretty much homemade. I was reading the labels of everything. I was using the Bobby Approved app because I knew that his thought process on diet and non-inflammatory diet was the same as mine. Everything he approved did not have seed oils in it. So I knew if it was approved, it was good for her. And it was low sugar, which she can't tolerate a lot of sugar either. We really don't do a lot of sugar added. If we give her any sugar, it's usually around the holidays, and it's very, very little. And they can only have coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, and anything else we do not buy. She has a limited snack stash that we stick to of certain things that she can have. Most of them have coconut oil in them because those are the things I can find the most. I make everything homemade. If I'm going to fry anything, I fry it at home in avocado oil because that can tolerate the most heat out of the oils that I use. She does very well. She also, if we're out, occasionally I will let her have some French fries at the restaurant because, I don't know, we have to go and be a family at times. If you're wondering why I choose gluten-free, dairy-free for my child with autism, that's why.